We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 42 of Vikings Uncensored.
Darren Sharper episode.
No,
just kidding.
No, it's not the Darren. We're not doing the Darren Sharper.
I know. I want to cut that out. I know.
No, we'll leave it. We'll leave it there, but no, we're not doing it.
I shouldn't even be laughing at that so hard, man. But
yeah, no, we're not saluting Darren Sharper this week. Let's
No,
get that perfectly clear. He's a puke.
Jeez. He was good when he played, but what a dirtbag.
Yeah.
What a piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways.
Moving on. Again, this week, want to thank our sponsor, Boulder Tap House, craft burgers, craft beer, and an atmosphere the whole family will love. Make sure you check those guys out. And of course, this is it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the last week that you can sign up for the limited edition Adam Thielen print.
Sick guys.
We will be giving this away on next week's show. So again, the two stipulations to enter: you have to be a subscriber to the channel, and then sometime during the show tonight, you will see a secret phrase pop up in the header up there with the flashing purple lights and everything.
Somewhere up in this area.
Yeah, it'll go across the whole pop up there. But when you see that, comment down in the comment section. And like I said, make sure you subscribe, and then you're entered. We will be giving that away next week. We'll move on here. A couple news items, I guess, that came out on Monday. Some fairly significant ones. We had an outbreak on Monday of positive tests.
Excellent. You have your own hazmat suits?
No.
No. Renters. Okay, I'm going to need you to gather your belongings, retreat to the warehouse, conduct your business there until the infected have been deloused.
Eric Kendricks, Cam Bynum, Brian O'Neill, Ezra Cleveland, and Christian Darasaw all tested positive.
Offensive line.
All tested positive for COVID and are on the IR list. Now, being with the new protocols and stuff with the NFL, there is a chance that most of these guys
could come back.
Could be back. I believe they're all vaccinated. I don't know that for sure, but if they're vaccinated and they're asymptomatic, they can be back in time for the game on Sunday. Not that it matters, but I did hear this afternoon, was listening to Darren Doobie Wolfson on Matthew and Judge's show, that he didn't say who it was, but one of the three offensive linemen is having fairly significant symptoms on this stuff. They're basically sick as a dog right now. He didn't say which one it was, and HIPAA rules and all that other stuff. You can't really, but
right.
So one of those three probably will not be back. The other ones might. Hard to say. Regardless, we still know that Wyatt Davis will be inactive, and Mike Zimmer will go pick up three offensive linemen out of the 7-Eleven down the street before he lets Wyatt Davis on the field. So
I'll probably get a phone call.
Yeah. No, I don't think Zimmer would want anything to do with either one of us after this season.
No, probably not.
So, and then on top of that, the Vikings also released quarterback Kyle Sloter on Monday. So
what a joke.
Yeah, they brought him. I mean, I understand they brought him here because they needed a backup in case Mannion didn't get off the COVID list in time, but
it's a business, I guess, whatever.
Yeah. But anyway, we'll roll into the recap of the that embarrassment in Green Bay on Sunday. I mean, that was terrible.
It ranks up there, man. It does.
I think game plan wise, especially offensively, that was one of the worst call games in recent memory that I can remember.
That Buffalo game was pretty bad a couple of years back.
Yeah, but I mean, at one point in time in the first half, our average depth of target on pass plays was 1.6 yards.
Yeah.
1.6. I can fall down and go further than 1.6 yards. Sean Mannion actually, we joked about him having a career game the other day. He actually did. 22 of 36 for 189 yards, and his first passing touchdown.
Woo-hoo-hoo! Go Sean!
To KJ Osborne. And then he also led the team in rushing yards. He had 14 yards rushing, compared to Dalvin Cook, who had 9 rushes for 13 yards. But at one point in time there, I think Dalvin got himself nicked up a little bit again, because I watched at one time he came off the field, he was coming off a little bit gingerly. The receiving guys, Jefferson, 6 catches for 58 yards. KJ Osborne, 3 for 50 and a touchdown. Tyler Conklin had 720 receptions for 47 yards.
720 receptions.
Well,
huh?
Yeah, because every time Mannion dropped back in the first half, he threw a 1 yard dropout to.
I was going to say Conklin had a pretty decent.
Actually, Conklin only had 5 catches, but I think they all came within the span of about a minute and a half.
Yeah.
But probably the best reception of the night, Garrett Bradbury had a catch for 21 yards.
The position that I played, but man, what's he got?
Huge hit there by Anderson. It's a big center. Bradbury, the center, he keeps going to the 14-yard line.
We've got an immaculate reception that from a lineman.
Bradbury ends up catching it.
Yeah.
Which
immaculate reception.
Part two. Which incidentally is the longest offensive play by a lineman in Vikings history. So, yay Bradbury, you made some history.
Woohoo!
We did get to see Kellen Mond for one series.
What a joke, man.
Yeah,
what a joke of a game.
He had 2 short passes, one that almost got intercepted, and then punt, and then Mannion trotted his happy ass back out the next series.
What a joke. What a joke.
There's nothing I'm pretty sure it was so bad they took Clint's coloring book away from him at one point.
I was gonna do an impression, but I'm not going to.
Go ahead.
No.
Do it.
Hey, I was coloring. Give it back. It was a little bit more.
Yeah, you had a good build up to it there, and then it just kind of. It's kind of like seeing a movie trailer that you thought looks really awesome, and then you spend the $12 to go to the movie, and you're like, I wasted $12 and 2 hours on this. Come on, Lance.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, give me back my sock, you goat bastard.
Anyway, is there anything else you want to discuss about the offensive side of things before we move?
No, I really don't.
I mean, this is going to be a little bit more abbreviated recap than we normally do because there's not really much to say at this point. With that, we'll move on to the defense. Realistically, at least to begin with, the defense did its job. We were up 3-0 at the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, the first quarter but it only lasted for so long, and then eventually the floodgates opened up, and
by the middle of the second quarter, it almost seemed like the team had quit. It looked like to me. We gave up 174 yards on the ground. Jones had, I think, 70 something, and AJ Dillon was up in that same range. one of the big things I saw that didn't make a whole lot of sense to me is we had either Boyd or Mac Alexander lined up one-on-one with Devontae Adams.
Yeah, it was ugly.
It doesn't work well.
I don't know why he doesn't throw a hand out there. Hand looks decent.
Harrison Hand did make a good play later in the game. I remember he was out there for one.
Yeah.
Then of course, end of the first half, we once again gave up points inside of 2 minutes, which now puts us at a deficit of 85 given up to only scoring 15 at the end of the first half. And if you combine that with the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter, we had given up 120 points, which is the most in the NFL since the merger in 1970.
Man.
And then on top of that, yardage-wise, defensively, we're giving up now 385.4 yards per game. That is 31st in the NFL.
Yeah, I was going to say, now we're 31st in the NFL on defense.
Only the Jets are worse than us.
With all these pickups, man. Well, granted, Pierce missed a lot of this season.
Pierce played.
He did.
Tomlinson played.
Yeah.
You know, it's
no excuses to her, man.
No,
what the hell?
No, there's not.
This is one of the biggest letdown seasons I've experienced as a fan, honestly.
Mm-hmm. And we'll get into some of this later when we talk about some of what we do going forward here. Anything else you want to hit on the defense? Or?
No.
All right. With that, we will move on to the special teams. Of course, at the end of the first half, Greg Joseph nails a 51-yard field goal to at least up our 2-minute offensive point total to 15 points for the season.
Right, and also the longest field goal in Lambeau history after the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm. Oh, in January, you mean?
Yeah, after the beginning of the new year.
Yeah, so I mean, that was one thing. Jordan Berry, 6 punts for a 49.3 average.
That's decent on a cold day.
With a long of 64. Kene Wangu had a 37-yard return. It's got us in some decent field position. Other than that, not a whole lot. Not much else really to say about the picking special teams either, I guess. But
it was just an ugly game, man.
It was.
It was.
So anyway, with that, we'll move on to our favorite topic once again, the coaching. Like I mentioned earlier, this is one of the worst offensive games I've seen called in a long time. It was putrid. And then, of course, you know, when they're asking Zimmer about this afterwards, whatever, his gripe was that we weren't running the ball enough. I mean, granted, yeah, you probably shouldn't have Sean Mannion throwing 38 passes. But, and then when they were talking, Zimmer had his presser, I think it was on Monday. He was talking about that one play where Mannion dropped back to pass on first down and got sacked for 10 yards or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they ran on second long. Zimmer's like, well, that one play there, I want him to run the ball on first down. And I, you know, tried keying back or telling Clint that and keying back and forth. And sometimes it's hard to communicate because he can be keying at the same time I'm keying and then he doesn't hear what I want him to do and blah, 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 blah. Shut up, Zimmer.
Yeah. It's getting to be mentally exhausting with this coaching staff.
And listening to he's been out there all week rattling off the excuses as to why, you know, he came out with that whole, the fumble in overtime against Cincinnati, the missed field goal against the Cardinals, giving up a late score against Dallas and Detroit.
How about the things you haven't fucking done this year?
Mike, giving up late scores, that's on the defense, and that's your fucking baby.
Yeah.
But
I'm sick of these excuses. It's been this way for way too fucking long. Excuse after excuse after excuse.
And
give me my paycheck. Thank you.
And the excuses that Zimmer's throwing out there right now are just getting pathetic.
He's throwing players on the bus. He
Yeah.
disrespected Mond.
That was
so bad.
That was the next thing I was going to come up with. Courtney Cronin asked Zimmer in the post-game press conference if he planned on playing or wanted to get a better look at Mond next week against Chicago. And he said, not particularly.
Do you think you want to get a look at Mond next week?
Not particularly.
Mike, why don't you want to get a look at him?
I see him every day.
And then Chip Scoggins from the Star Tribune followed it up with, well, why don't you think you need to see him? Oh, I see him I see him every day.
Fuck you, Mike Zimmer.
Yeah. I don't, yeah, okay. I get that you're grouchy and pissed off, Mike, but you don't get to be that kind of an asshole when you have the season that you have had, most of which is your fault. I don't care how many damn excuses you throw down there.
Accountability, man. Come on.
This season, more than anything else, falls on the freaking coaching staff. And guess what, Mike? You run that coaching staff. It was Mike Zimmer's idea.
Mike ever take accountability for this team?
No, it was Mike Zimmer's idea.
I heard him say this game is on me.
No, it was his idea to hire an offensive coordinator and get that 5 years ago was the wide receivers coach for Kansas State and has never. And I don't really fault Clint for this. He's 33 years old and has zero experience. And you say, hey, Clint, your dad ran the offense last year. Now he retired. Here you go. Here's the keys. Go drive the Corvette. And the first thing he does is crashes it into a tree.
Our fan base is more torn than it's ever been in any period in Vikings history, in my opinion. Whether it be the coaching, who is quarterbacking the team. This is ridiculous.
And that, I'm glad you brought that up because that's going to roll me into my next little thing here. I have a little rant I need to go on, and you guys please bear with me for a minute. I know people accuse us of being Kirk haters and stuff like that. Not the case. When Kirk does well, we praise him on this show. If you don't believe us, go back and watch prior episodes after he's had a good game, and we have done that, especially early on in the season when he was playing really well. Yeah. But I'm sorry, the Kyrgyzstan army needs to shut up. They were out. These guys came out after that game on Sunday, and they're like, see, if we get rid of Kirk, this is what we're going to have from here on out. Guys, Sean Mannion is not the only other option other than Kirk Cousins. Sean Mannion is one of the 2 or 3 worst backup quarterbacks in the league. 31 other teams found quarterbacks that aren't Sean Mannion. I'm pretty sure we can do the same thing.
You might be right.
I know I'm right.
Yeah, as far as like Mannion goes, being the worst.
Yeah, but these guys are out there spouting off that's the only future for the Minnesota Vikings if we get rid of Kirk Cousins is to wallow in the pathetic obscurity of Sean Mannion from here until eternity ends.
Yep.
No, with a new coaching staff, Sean Mannion's not even going to be on this team next year.
No. This is incompetence, ineptness at its finest.
It's just people that are making such outlandish stuff because they are so, I don't know, insecure or what about somebody ever saying anything bad about Kirk Cousins.
I don't know. Yeah,
crazy. In fairness, in savagery to the Kyrgyzstanis, it's the same way for the Kirk haters. Because the man could cure COVID and they'd still find something to bitch about. On one side, he can do no wrong, and the other side, he can do no right. And in the middle, you got the big chunk of all of us here who just want this team to win a Super Bowl. The name on the back of the jersey is irrelevant. There was another, I spent too much time on Twitter this week, and I shouldn't have because it's
I want
It's-
fucking
it's not
winners,
good.
Rhino. I want
I-
winners. I want players that want to win Super Bowls. I
Absolutely.
want players that
And-
want to go to the Hall of Fame and be great.
And
I
honestly,
don't
there,
want coaches that are going to hold those players back.
yeah, and honestly, there were very few players on that field Sunday night that looked like they even wanted to be there.
You know why? Because that's what happens when you got shitty fucking leadership.
Yep. When you have coaches that go throw a third string quarterback under the bus, somebody who, I mean, and then you see around this, oh, Mond is obviously garbage. We blah, 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 blah. You're going to come to that conclusion after 3 snaps in a meaningful game.
Players that respect their coach will run through a wall for their coach.
Right.
Right now, half the fucking locker room does not respect Mike Zimmer. Half
No.
the locker room was out on Mike Zimmer after the end of last year.
Yep. Well, and there was a story that came out on, I forget what the name of it is, but it's a bunch of the people that left BuzzFeed and went and started their own I forget the name of this, but name is irrelevant. But there was a story that came out that they had somebody that had talked to an ex-Vikings player about the nepotism that's running rampant through the Vikings right now.
Yeah.
You know, and the biggest thing was talking about.
It's highly focused on the Vikings as well.
Well, yeah, it was focused mainly on Lil Zim getting promoted to offense or to defensive coordinator when you have Andre Patterson, who's been a coach in the league for over 20 years. And
how disrespectful is that?
Yeah, but you know, they made it all better to Andre Patterson by making his son the running back coach too, you know. And then of course on the other side of the offense, you had Gary there, and then you had Clint, son of Gary, that once Gary did his retirement, then Clint, son of Gary, became offensive coordinator of coloring books. But I mean, there was actually somebody on Twitter though that said, and this is a troll job, of course, but it's also showing some of the irrational thoughts of some of these people that are just off the wall crazy one way or the other on the Cousins situation or the Zimmer situation or whatever. He said, I guess Justin Jefferson isn't a very good wide receiver without having an elite quarterback throw to him.
Once again,
Justin Jefferson has not had an elite quarterback throwing to him since Joe Burrow was throwing him touchdowns in the national championship game at LSU.
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
But anyway, I want to move on from this because I have other stuff we want to cover, and there'll be more room for ranting later. With that, we will move on to our awards show segment.
Woo!
Yeah, because there's going to be a lot to choose from today, ladies and gentlemen.
Fucking yay. Excuse my language this week. I am so mad. I'm out of it this week, guys. Really. I'm just upset.
But unlike the Vikings, we're pressing on with our segments on this show, and we're playing it out till the end of the season anyway. Right. As always, we celebrate the good and then the not so good. We start off with what we call our Badass of the Week award.
Who is that guy? Whoever he is one tough badass.
A hard time this week finding anything to do any of these awards.
Who do you got for your badass?
I actually have Greg Joseph for my badass this week. You know, going into Lambeau, starting off the scoring. I honestly was not thinking he was going to make that 50-plus yarder. You know,
I didn't think he was either, but
in the cold, and you know, and with the conditions against him, because they were talking about that. And, you know, the commentators were.
Well, yeah, and like the
broadcasters were saying, you know, he was kicking in the, you know.
What was the temperature about that time? About 4 degrees or something like that.
Right. And then you would have wanted, they were saying that you would have been wanting to kick the other way at that point, in the other direction.
Yeah, but you can't just say, no, sorry, we're going to turn around and kick it the other way. So, yeah.
Right. But yeah, he ended up going and nailing it. And now he, you know, holds the record there for that particular stat. So.
Yeah. For me, I'm going to give it to the only guy that made a decent offensive play all night long. I'm going to give it to Garrett Bradbury for that 20 because he caught that 21-yard reception.
Awesome.
We rag on Bradbury a lot, so when he does something good, See, we're fair, we're honest, we're balanced. I am going to congratulate Garrett Bradbury on now holding the record for the longest reception by a Vikings lineman in team history.
That was badass too.
Besides, I love watching fat guy run. Well, he's not really a fat guy, but lineman,
He
whatever.
was rumbling and bumbling and stumbling for sure after he got that ball, and it took quite a few guys to get him down.
Yep. The only thing that would have been better is if he would have kept on going and scored a touchdown.
Put him at fullback.
Yeah, tight end, something. So with that, we will move on to the other award for the week, which I'm sure there's plenty of options for us, but the one we call our Red Foreman Award.
Son, you don't have bad luck. The reason that bad things happen to you is because you're a dumbass.
Who do you got for that?
For that, I could put down 8 names for this award, honestly. Yeah. Boyd, Mannion, and the entire coaching staff, pretty much.
No, seriously, you all suck.
I got wrote down. I mean, you could take Pickett and leave him out of that.
Yeah.
But as far as everybody else, toss them in there. But yeah, Boyd for sure got burnt a few good times there. They were picking on him all game.
So basically, you just want me to put a team photo up for you, but you
might as well put the team photo up. Yeah.
For me, and I'm hoping this is the last time I ever have to do this one. I'm going to get, and I mentioned I don't like to do this because we've been doing it so much, but I'm giving it to Zimmer one last time.
How don't we do it? I mean,
because
right every fucking week.
Because of the game plan that was against Green Bay was absolutely horseshit. It's like it's like Zimmer rolled out of bed at 3 p.m. and they said, "Oh, hey, by the way, Mike, you got to play Green Bay tonight."
I don't understand the concept of starting Mannion.
No.
I don't understand that. He earned it.
No, he doesn't earn it. Zimmer is just
a damn. Have a chance to see what. I could understand that if you were playing, if you didn't have somebody in the wing, you know what I mean?
If it's like it
sitting in the wing,
right?
I could understand his train of thought there.
But Zimmer hates Kellen Mond. I mean, it's obvious. And I'm starting
rookies.
I'm
hates playing rookies.
Right, but I'm starting to think on the Kellen Mond thing. The 2 things probably that are pissing Zimmer off more than other, and again, pure speculation on my behalf. But A, he was an early 3rd round pick that Zimmer wanted to use on defense. He didn't want him anyway. And B, Mond is a mobile quarterback, and Zimmer despises mobile quarterback. Look he did the same thing with Case Keenum when he was here. Every time every post-game press conference that he had with Case Keenum when he was here, Keenum would have had a hell of a game, out slinging the ball all over the yard and everything else, and Zimmer would come back. Well, he's got a horseshoe shoved up his ass. He's got big balls or whatever.
To that because he tried to force Bradford back that year before he was ready to come back.
Okay, in the Chicago game, he forced him out there for the first half.
There might be some.
And Bradford couldn't even walk, and Zimmer tried to push him out there. Because Zimmer, you look any game that we play against a mobile quarterback, they give our defense fits, and I think Zimmer hates mobile quarterbacks because that doesn't matter if it's his own quarterback or somebody else's. He hates mobile quarterbacks.
Now, was them still on staff when we passed up Russell Wilson?
No, that was.
Was that Frazier?
No.
Okay.
So anyway, we will move on. This is turning. I apologize if people are going to think we're too negative this week, but it's just at the point where.
How can you not be?
I can't believe there are still people out there that are defending Zimmer and want to keep him.
How can you find anything positive out of the situation we're sitting in right now?
Excuses. They just make any kind of excuse. It doesn't need to be rational when it's just an excuse. That's all it is.
I can't wait until we can be happy, honestly, and positive around here. Yeah. It's hard to be, guys. Like, seriously.
I don't like being
following a team that's fucking that's not making the playoffs that had high expectations. Like how do people expect me to be?
Yeah, I don't like being negative about our team.
We came into this show saying we wanted to be real and that we're going to keep it real. Well, that's what we're going to do.
Yep.
If you're a fan and you're happy with where we're at right now, you're delusional.
And that's your right. If you're satisfied with just being an average team that is fighting for a 6 seed, maybe or a 7 seed every year, maybe once every 5 or 6 years we'll pop up and make it to the division round, or if we get really lucky, the NFC Championship game. Fine, that's your right. But that's not where I'm at, and that's not where you're at. We want a Super Bowl. We want this to be a great team. We want other teams to say, oh, shit, we got to play Minnesota this week.
Exactly.
Not, hey, we're playing Minnesota. This would be a get-right game for us.
They're going to shoot themselves in the foot sometime in the game.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to end up losing somehow.
Yeah, and games that we go out and win comfortably by 2 or 3 scores, not chewing on glass for the final 2.5 quarters because we're clinging to a 3-point lead.
I want to be feared by other teams in the league, for sure.
Absolutely.
I want to be respected. It's pretty bad when you're one of the winningest teams and nobody respects us no more.
No. And there's nothing wrong with wanting us to be like the Patriots, like the Cowboys were in the 90s.
Like we're being too selfish because we want to win Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Years.
How dare we expect greatness from this team? But anyway, we're getting off on tangent here.
I know, but some things need to be said sometimes.
Right. So we will roll into our fantasy football challenge results for the week. As everybody knows, I'm sure we clinched against the Vikings report last week. So, but Lance and I still had the competition going on between ourselves because I technically was still alive until this week rolled around.
Oh, money.
Now, I made it respectable last night because I had Jarvis Landry going. If he had caught that touchdown pass late in the game, would have made it a lot more interesting.
But he didn't.
But he didn't. And so Lance beats me 61.65 to 55. And Lance is the inaugural champion of fantasy football between the two of us. So
touchdown! The Mud Dogs win it. Bobby Boucher's the hero. He's gone from Waterboy Dan to Savior. And it's because he didn't hold anything back. Well, Swanee's down on the field with our hero, so let's go to Lynn now.
We did it! I can't believe it!
congrats. Yeah, we'll send you your little crown in the mail.
I am a real American.
All right, brother.
There you go.
Anyway, with that, we are going to break off into another one of our classic beer commercials. So run to the fridge, grab yourself a refill, crack it open, and we'll be back in a minute.
When you start something good, everyone wants a piece of it. Take light beer from Miller. Now there's lots of light beers out there saying they're less filling. Heck, that was the easy part. The hard part is brewing a light beer that tastes great. That's why Light's always brewed only with the finest ingredients. To let all that great beer taste come through for guys like you and me. The taste that's made light beer from Miller America's favorite light beer.
Hey, I always thought it was easy opening can.
All right, we are back. And as we do every week, we're going to put the Green Bay game in the rearview mirror, and for all intents and purposes, the season going in the rearview mirror too. We do have one more game to play this Sunday at home against the Chicago Bears. Now, game for all intents and purposes is irrelevant. The only
Kirk plays.
Yeah.
You do.
Zimmer has came out and said that the starters are going to play. So, I mean, Zimmer's, I don't know if he's just that stubborn or that clueless or what, that he's thinking he's
I can't wait until we're done talking about
Mike Zimmer.
fucking Zimmer.
But Zimmer is dead set on playing the starters. Jefferson, Kirk, anybody that can play is going to play. He said that straight out in one of his pressers earlier this week. We should be seeing the young guys, the Kellen Monds, the Wyatt Davises, the Chaz Surratts, Patrick Jones, who has gotten some playing time. But in order for that to happen, we would have to fire Zimmer before Sunday, because Zimmer will not play those guys. It's not going to change anything from how it's been all season long, except Mond will not even be active, assuming Kirk is off the COVID list, which he should be by that time. On the Bears side of things, there again, this is the battle of the dead man walking game, because Zimmer's going to be gone.
At least it's a divisional game. I mean, there's that. So.
Well, so there's basically two things going, in play for the game here. One is the winner finishes second in the North. Whoop-de-fucking-do, hang the banner. But then the loser, of course, improves their draft position, which for the Bears doesn't matter as much because they don't have a first-round pick this year because they gave it to the Giants last year to move up and get.
So we're still like number 12 right now, aren't we?
We're 12th right now. We can get up as high as like 7th or 8th, I think.
God, that'd be fantastic.
Which means we will find a way to win this game, because that would be a Zimmer thing to do. Would screw the team over about 6 spots in the draft order. But like I said, neither team really has much to play for other than that. Way it sounds, like probably Andy Dalton starts at quarterback for them. It's, again, irrelevant at this point in time. I know we usually do more an in-depth breakdown of the game, but there's really not any point.
It's week 17 for us too.
It's week 18.
Yeah.
And if the game had some meaning, I'd be more than willing to dive into it more, but really there's some other stuff I'd rather talk about.
Yeah.
So unless you have anything else to mention on the Bears game, we'll move on to that.
Not really, no. Other than the fact that it's at home, it's going to be interesting to see how the fans come out on Sunday and react to the team and the way they play, how they react to Zimmer and the coaching staff.
I saw somebody post on Twitter earlier this week about, will the fan base give Mike Zimmer an ovation when he comes out, for what he's done?
I don't know.
No, I don't think they will. I mean, there'll be some, but I can
not right now. Now is not the right time for that shit.
No, after the right
time for that.
After the shit show of a season that he put us through,
5-6 years down the road, I don't feel the same way about Zimmer as I did about Childress.
No,
Childress left.
No.
I respect Zimmer a lot more than I'll ever respect Brad Childress, in my opinion.
Yeah. Now Zimmer's making it harder with crap like, the modern comments and stuff like that.
A lot goes into it, though.
It really does. It does. And Zimmer hasn't been all bad. He did some good things, especially early on.
He did.
But,
burnt out. He's burnt out. He got burnt out, and now he's collected a paycheck. The message
has gotten stale. It's time to move on.
A different change of scenery is best for both parties, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Now, with that leads us into our next section we're going to talk about. But we just got the segues going great tonight.
Good. Well, all right.
But basically, the next segment here is what exactly are the Wilfs going to do come Monday morning at 9 a.m. or whenever it rolls around on Black Monday.
What would you do?
I know what I do, but
what would you do?
But Judd Zulgad on Tuesday came out and said that the entire ownership group, the Wilfs and all of the minority owners, are supposed to be getting together Wednesday night. So by the time you guys see the show, this will already happen. To basically nail down the path going forward. Now, there's a ton of reckless speculation going on out there about what's going on. I mean, I heard rumors today that on the flight home from Green Bay last night, Zimmer was telling Thielen that he needed a mulligan in another year because due to COVID, due to the injuries, due to this, that, and the other thing. You know, he was out there saying, well, if it wasn't for all these players being out, we'd be 9-7 instead of 7-9. Oh my God, 9-7? This team had expectations to be competing for a Super Bowl and at the very least winning the division and getting far in the playoffs. 9-7.
I had us at 11-5 before the season started.
Yeah.
So I mean, 9-7. Come on, Zim.
To be fair, I said 9-8. But anyway, so, and then I've heard rumors, of course, again of, and again, this is all speculation, not substantiated. It's not an Ian Rappaport. It's not a Courtney Cronin. It's not anything like that. But it's rumblings that I have heard. The Wilfs, of course, are, you know, huge Bill Parcells fans, which is a lot of the reason why Zimmer got the job here to begin with. And they're kind of consulting with Parcells again, which makes it interesting because, of course, he's also Mike Zimmer's mentor.
Right. This seems almost kind of dirty.
Yeah. I mean,
behind Zim's back to consult with his. It's like,
well, I guarantee you that Parcells isn't telling the Wilfs to fire Mike Zimmer.
Right.
I mean, Zimmer has to
Zimmer's
be gone.
not going to take an emotion.
No, and I've seen fans put that out and rumors of that
we had speculated about that way back.
We can make demote Mike Zimmer to defensive coordinator. That's the worst idea I have heard in a whole season of bad ideas.
Even more big of a shit show than what we have this year. If that's the case, next year's going to be even bigger. If that would be the situation.
Yeah. One, Mike Zimmer's never going to accept a demotion. Two, even if he did, you're going to have an immediate locker room schism because you're still going to have some of those Zim guys. Yep. And that is the king bad idea.
That's not showing your young rookies anything. Then not anything to look forward to get them excited. That they know that this organization is serious about getting to where this team needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
If Jefferson looks and sees that Zimmer's still on staff next year, where do you think Jefferson's going to think?
He's going to think, okay, how long is it till I can force my way out of here like Stephon Diggs did?
Exactly.
But I mean, Zimmer, without question, needs to be off of this team, have nothing more to do with it after Monday. Now
step
the
by
other
step, man. Yeah, step by step. First, get rid of Zim, then decide what you want to do after that with, like, speculate. I'm not going to say it. Even we can think about it in our minds.
Right.
But first off is starting off with getting rid of your head coach.
Right. But then almost probably just as important is what the hell you're going to do with Rick Spielman. Because, I mean,
next step.
We all know that
1A and 1B.
That Spielman has the ear of Mark Wilf, especially. And Mark runs most of the football operations for the Wilf family. Ziggy doesn't do a whole lot of it. It's more Mark than anything else. But Mark and Rick are friends. Which here again, you get back to that whole nepotism and, giving your buddies jobs and things like that. Spielman, in my mind, needs to be gone as well.
We need to wash our hands of, like we've said in the past, of everybody in
here. This team needs a complete and total culture change, and keeping even some of the players or the management and coaching staff around isn't going to fix that. Now, I've heard the big rumor, and Judge Zolgad has talked about this many times, as has Doobie Wolfson, that the Wilfs might move Rick Spielman into like a John Elway type role where they just give him some figurehead title and put him in a corner office someplace and keep him on the staff as part of the team, but remove him from any personnel decisions. Now, if they're removing him from any personnel decisions and they don't let him be involved in any of that stuff, that I can live with. I don't care if he goes out and is the president in charge of hot dog sales at US Bank Stadium or whatever. But
head chef in the US Bank.
Yeah, I've also heard a rumor on Tuesday here. Again, complete speculation, and unsubstantiated in any way, shape, or form, but there is a rumor that is kind of floating a little bit that the Wolves may want to try to bring back the triangle, which would mean moving Rick Spielman away from what they call a GM, bringing in a new general manager, and then the new coach, and have the three of them making decisions like what we did back in the day with Childress and Spielman and Rob Brzezinski. Now, that's almost as dumb of an idea as keeping Zimmer around as a defensive coordinator, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because A, you're not going to get any general manager in here worth a crap if they know that Rick Spielman is still pulling the strings. You're going to get some yes man somewhere that is going to do whatever Rick's told. That's not going to change anything. I want nobody that's in charge of personnel right now, as far as Zimmer, Spielman, that group. I don't want any of them having anything to do with personnel next year. Rob Brzezinski, yes, I want to keep, because Rob is the best.
But the only guy from the front office I want to keep is Brzezinski.
Rob is the best cap man in the NFL, and it's not even
I
close.
agree. Yeah.
But there needs to be an audit on the entire organization as a whole, the scouting, all of that stuff, because, I mean, with all these players that we're having misses on, is the scouting staff not doing their job and giving Rick bad information, or is the coaching staff not developed? Are these actually good players, like in the case of Wyatt Davis, for instance, that the coaching staff just isn't developing?
That's gotta be what it is, man.
I mean, it's with Davis. You can't tell me that a two-time consensus All-American is so bad he can't beat out Dakota Dozier.
Just fell off a cliff somehow.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, we don't know what the Wilfs are going to do. By this time next week, we should have a good idea. Hoping both have been removed from their positions, and we'll kind of go from there once we hit that point. But with that, we will move into, we did this last week. We had a list of 5 or 6 favorites for potential replacements for Mike Zimmer. Now we have 6 more this week that maybe a little bit more like dark horse candidates and things like that, but a couple that are kind of intriguing to me anyway. We'll start off with Nathaniel Hackett, current offensive coordinator for that team from Wisconsin. He's 42 years old. He was a quality control coach under John Gruden. Then he went on to Buffalo, had the same position. He was a quarterback and tight ends coach at Syracuse in college, and then also their offensive coordinator. Returned to Buffalo under Doug Marrone and was the offensive coordinator there. And then when Marrone went to Jacksonville, Hackett went along. He was a quarterback's coach and the offensive coordinator there. He was the offensive coordinator that year that Jacksonville was like a play away from knocking Tom Brady out of the AFC Championship game. So I mean, if you look back at
that year, then
So if you look back at some of his teams that he was coordinating stuff on, they had good offenses.
I could see why he'd be considered a dark horse for sure.
And now, he spent the last 2 years working, or the last 3 years actually, working with Matt LaFleur, over in Green Bay as their offensive coordinators. And, a bit more of a dark horse, but I'm slightly intrigued by him anyway.
I'm gonna be interested in see what happens to Matt after Aaron leaves. Then he gets his chance to prove what kind of coach he really is.
Right. But I mean, this can't be all Aaron Rodgers, because when Cletus McCarthy was there, they didn't make the playoffs for 2 straight years. Then LaFleur comes in and they gone 13-3 to the NFC Championship game, 13-3 to the NFC Championship game. Right now they're 13-3 again with a chance to go 14-3 and home field advantage all the way through the playoffs. So
I think maybe just a breath of fresh air might have been good there in that case.
Yeah. But I'd take LaFleur on our
because
on our
Cletus had because that's one of the years that Barr knocked out Rodgers.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that was the first of the 2. Yeah, but there is a caveat there, but But anyway, we'll move on to the next one here. Next one is current Rams defensive coordinator, Raheem Morris.
I like Raheem Morris, and he's another one of those coaches like Todd Bowles that was kind of given the short end of the deal. Was given pretty much crap to start with.
Yeah.
So
Morris is 45 years old. Started off as a defensive quality control coach for Tampa Bay during their first Super Bowl run.
Yep.
Then he got promoted to defensive backs coach. Then he went to Kansas State for a year as their defensive coordinator. Then came back to Tampa Bay as the DB coach again. And then when John Gruden got fired, they promoted him to head coach. After that, he was the defensive backs coach for the football team. At one point in time, he was a wide receivers coach, defensive backs coach, defensive coordinator for Atlanta. And then, of course, when Dan Quinn got fired last year,
kicked our ass.
We all remember Raheem Morris was promoted to interim head coach of Atlanta, and then they promptly came in here and laid a whooping on us the very next game.
Yep.
And then for the last year now, he's been defensive coordinator with the Rams. So bounced around a lot, but he's played under a lot of different or coached under a lot of different philosophies and things.
Sometimes that's good though when you've been around like that. You get a little bit of here, a little bit there, a little bit of a little bit of knowledge from everybody.
Yep. Now here's another guy that not generating a lot of buzz, but I heard a couple weeks ago somebody making, putting him as a potential candidate somewhere. So we'll talk about him. Mike McDaniel, current offensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. He's 38 years old. Big ties to the Shanahan-Kubiak tree, which to me is a major red flag. I don't necessarily want to keep that kind of an offensive philosophy around here. But he was an intern under Mike Shanahan and then an assistant under Gary Kubiak in Houston. Gary was the head coach there. Then went to be the wide receivers coach for the football team when Mike Shanahan was coaching there. Went to the Browns as a wide receivers coach, and then to wide receivers coach in Atlanta. And then started off as run game coordinator and then promoted to offensive coordinator under Kyle Shanahan. When Mike LaFleur left to go to New York,
right,
McDaniel got bumped up to the offensive coordinator position. Here again, being that thick into the Shanahan stuff, I could see him being.
I don't see him coming here.
I don't. I mean, I could see him being intriguing to especially if you keep Spielman around or whatever. That continuity, because of the same, and especially if you're going to keep Kirk Cousins around.
Right.
I could see something like that.
That's the only way I could maybe see that, yeah.
But there again, like I mentioned, I'm not a fan of keeping this offensive scheme around. So that would eliminate McDaniel from my coaching search right away, I guess. But the next one's kind of intriguing. Joe Woods, defensive coordinator for the Browns.
I've always liked this guy, yeah.
51 years old. Started off as a defensive backs coach for Tampa Bay. Then actually was a defensive backs coach here under Denny Green.
I remember that.
From 06 to 13. Then after here, he went to the Raiders as a defensive backs coach. Then he was defensive backs coach and coordinator in Denver. In San Francisco for a while, he was the DB coach and also the passing game coordinator, which is kind of interesting. And then now the last year or so, he's been defensive coordinator under Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland.
Okay. You said he was here from what, 06 until when?
06 to 13.
So he was here when Childress was here then?
Yeah. He would have been.
Yeah, Childress and Frazier.
Actually would have been, Frazier. I said Denny, but it should have, I meant Childress.
Yep.
Then the next one, here again, before I even get into this guy, I'm going to say right out, I'm 100% out on this guy.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Josh McDaniels, current offensive coordinator for New England Patriots. 45 years old. Has been with Belichick forever, pretty much.
He was with Denver there. As
Yep, was the head coach of the Broncos for a couple of years in the Tebow era.
Came out fast, came out quick.
Yeah, was also quarterbacks coach.
I think he got complacent and pretty much got a big head, and then he went crying back to daddy.
But part of it too, again, the only real coach out of the Belichick tree that's really had any major success in the pros to this point is Mike Vrabel. You got
Patricia in Detroit, dude.
Yeah, the homeless teamster, yeah. But for me, and all that other stuff aside on McDaniels, the thing that puts me out on him is that crap he pulled with Indianapolis.
Yeah,
exactly. He gets the Indy job.
And it backs the fuck out.
He not only backs out, but he had a staff hired. These guys that he was hiring had put in their notices and quit the other coaching jobs that they had. And then McDaniels wakes up one morning and like, I'm going to go back and be offensive coordinator with New England again.
Right.
And honestly, I don't think McDaniels is going anywhere. I think he's just sitting there and waiting for Darth to finally hang up the headset, and then he'll take over there.
Nah, nepotism will take its course there too.
Right. Then the last candidate we have on the list is current Rams offensive coordinator, Kevin O'Connell. Here again, one of the hot McVay tree type players, he's coaching.
Yeah.
He's 36 years old, has been quarterbacks coach for the Browns, is a special projects coordinator for the 49ers, whatever the hell that means. In charge of getting
the activities coordinator.
In charge of getting coffee and donuts and setting up the Friday afternoon picnics, apparently. He was with the football team. He was quarterback coach, pass game coordinator, and offensive coordinator. And now is offensive coordinator for the Rams. So there again, you've got a little bit of that Shanahan, Kubiak flair in there. Yeah. So, that's a list, it's like 11, 12 names that we had there.
Now I know we discussed this. I know you don't have a lot of the history on this guy, but we know the guy from the past. I think you could throw Jack Del Rio out there as a hot take too for potential.
Little bit of a Brunswick bold take on that one maybe, but myself personally, I'm not a huge fan of Del Rio as a head coach.
I'd be okay with him coming in as DC even.
Yep, I could be talked into him being defensive coordinator. That I wouldn't mind, but I just really don't have a great feel for him as a head coach, I guess. But
yeah.
Anyway, with that, we'll kind of see what Monday plays and stuff, and on next week's show, if we're looking for general managers, I've got a few of those we could talk about too next week, but we'll hold off on that. One name I will throw out right away, probably my favorite guy of the ones I've looked at right now is Ed Dodds. He's the assistant GM in Indy.
Okay.
He's been there for the rebuild of Indianapolis the last few years. And before that, he was assistant GM in Seattle, was there when they built the Legion of Boom and Bobby Wagner and all those guys.
That's a good guy to be looking at.
He interviewed for the Detroit Lions GM position last year, but didn't get it. Again, it's the Lions.
Browns, shit, they're interchangeable.
Yeah. But anyway, he's a name to keep an eye on. I like what I've seen when I've been researching him. We've got a few other names. Like I said, we'll get into that next week if we actually have an open GM position. But with that, we will move on to our final pick and prognostication section of the year. Again, Lance has the title sewn up, but we figured we'd play for fun for the last week just to finish it out. So as always, even it's like the Vikings-Bears game. This doesn't really matter, but we're going to play it anyway. Again, there's no Thursday night game, so we don't have to worry about that caveat anymore. You take a quarterback, a running back, 2 wide receivers, and a tight end, and the caveat being once you pick the player, you cannot pick them again.
Yep.
So
I was slim pickings this week.
yeah, we're definitely down to stems and seeds. So
We're all down just to seeds.
yeah, there aren't even stems left. But anyway, since Lance won and fuck you, I'm gonna go first.
Oh, you're going first.
I'm gonna go first just
you
because
make the rules around here, man.
Yeah.
You're the boss.
You're too busy. You're too busy celebrating. You didn't get the card in time.
Right.
Anyway, so for my quarterback, I'm going to go with Carson Wentz versus Jacksonville.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
I thought about going to Taysom Hill, but I had to go Wentz.
Yeah.
I don't trust Taysom Hill throwing as much as I do Wentz.
Mm-hmm.
So
who do you got for running back?
For running back, I got AJ Dillon versus the Lions.
For my running back, I am going to take Elijah Mitchell versus the Rams.
Okay. Wide receiver 1.
I am going to take Ramalama Ding Dong St. Brown versus the Packers.
I thought about doing that too.
He's had a couple of really big games the last couple of weeks.
So. And that's without Goff.
Yeah. Maybe that's why he's had a couple of big games. I don't know.
Maybe. I'm going to go Tyler Johnson against Carolina.
Okay. How about your second wide receiver?
I'm going to go... Amon-Ra St. Brown versus Green Bay.
You forgot to pick one, didn't you?
Yeah, he's my second receiver.
Okay.
I guess I was going to go him. I thought I picked somebody different, but apparently he's my second receiver. Whatever.
Okay, for my second one, I'm taking Odell Beckham Jr. against San Francisco.
I thought about going him too, but I just went with, yeah. All right, who do you got for tight end?
I'm taking Cole Kmet versus us.
I'm going to go with Noah Fant versus KC, Kansas City.
All right. With that, that's all we've got for this week, guys. So again, want to thank everybody for watching. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Hit that little button down over there.
Somewhere. Yep, right there.
And then if you missed it, go back and find the secret phrase that appeared at some point in time during the episode. Comment down in the comment section below to get for your final chance to get signed up for the Adam Thielen limited edition print that we'll be giving away next week on the show. Again, thank you everybody for watching, for interacting during the quarter breaks and the live stuff that I've been doing during the games. Again, we'll not be able to do that this weekend due to the fact that I will be down in Frisco, Texas, watching my North Dakota State Bison play Montana State for the FCS National Championship on Saturday, traveling on Sunday. But with that, again, thank you, everybody. Thank you again for sticking with us all season long. We're not going anywhere. We're going to have plenty of stuff to talk about in the off season. So stick with us. We got coaching news coming up. We potentially have general manager news coming up. And once that's all settled, then we start talking about player movements and draft and all that kind of stuff. So like the NFL never sleeps, we're not sleeping either. Plus we're going to, we'll keep up with the playoffs as they go along all of the Super Bowl.
Of course.
So with that, again, thank you everybody for watching, and why don't you take us out of here, guys?
Episode 42, end of the year. If you have any ideas of what you want to see this off season, what you kind of want us to cover when the off season does get here, we'd absolutely like to hear what you guys think. We're going to beat Chicago this week. I don't know. Like I said, that number 7 pick would be fantastic if we made it up that high. Man, next Friday. All right. Well, we'll see you then.
All right. Have a good one, guys.